Well, hello guys, and welcome back to another episode on the SAGA channel. Today we're going to discuss my personal top 5 of my favorite cenote dives in Mexico. So let's do it. Cool guys, so a couple of ground rules before we make this list. I obviously didn't dive all the Mexican cenotes. I'm also not an expert, right? I don't live there. I've simply visited the area, done a bunch of dives and shortlisted my top 5. Now, the first thing that we need to understand about cenote diving is that it's not for everybody, right? And all cenotes are different. Some of them are more cavernous. Some of them are full-on caves, which I will not be including in this list. And depending on your level of experience in diving, that is, you may be more or less comfortable with some, and your dive guide may be more or less comfortable taking you to some. So I'm making this list as an experienced diver, but not a cave diver going on a vacation. And if I have options to choose from, which ones would I choose when I go back? That's what we're gonna do. By the way guys, if you like content like this, you can always subscribe to the channel. There is a little red button that says subscribe, and there is a bell icon too. Then you get notifications when we make a new diving related video. On number 5, and I think I'm going to get a lot of angry comments for this one, but my number 5 is the pit. It is still in my top 5, so it is still a really cool cenote dive. The pit is definitely more of a sinkhole situation, and I like it. The reason that it's in the top 5 is I actually like the entry. I love how you need to pulley your tanks down into the water. That all really kind of adds to that cenote feeling, but it gets so much rep from people that once I did it, I was a little bit underwhelmed, and I just feel people boiling as they watch this, because the pit has a lot of fans. Like, I know it's a very popular subject for pictures. We've actually mentioned them before on this channel. And it is a beautiful dive site, but I personally, for the fact that it is kind of a pit and you go down and you kind of swim around a bit and then you come up, I think there are at least 4 cenotes that are better. On number 4, my 4th favorite cenote is Taj Mahal. Why did I like Taj Mahal? First of all, I think the facilities are really good. So Taj Mahal has a big parking space, lots of space to prepare, a couple of champas or palapas to prepare under. And the actual dive itself has a lot of really cool hidden spots. I definitely haven't seen all of Taj Mahal. There's no way, it's quite complex. My favorite moment being halfway through the dive, and I'm sure this location has a name, you can actually surface under what looks to be an opening in the jungle, and the light is just amazing. All throughout Taj Mahal, I actually really loved the light. There are some of these emerald green openings with light shining through, and for me it was just every turn was just an ooh ah moment. So if I go back, that one is 100% on the list. Taj Mahal, loved it. My 3rd favorite cenote is Angelita. Angelita is another sinkhole, much like the pit. The reason that I place it higher than the pit is because of the whole sulfur cloud situation. I can imagine that is something that once you've done it a few times, maybe you get bored of or sort of loses its mystery. But to me, the fact that once you get down to depth, I think it's around 25 meters, correct me if I'm wrong, there's this massive sulfur cloud. Because it being a sinkhole, a lot of branches, trees have fallen into the center of the pit and have started decomposing. It's just a really spooky but very interesting experience. And as in terms of layout or shape, I think it has a lot in common with the pit, at least with the accessible part of it. But the whole sulfur cloud situation and the petrified trees just made it extra special for me. I could do that. I think I could do that dive dozens of times before getting bored of it. Facility-wise, Angelita is okay. There's a parking lot. I think there's like one champa. It's relatively basic, and you do need to walk a little bit with your gear before you get onto the platform into the water. We saw a little crocodile there, which just to me only makes it even more special. So for me, Angelita is at number 3, and I will definitely go back. Number 2 and number 1, I was going to do a tie, but ultimately I found a good reason to actually make a decision. So number 2, I'm placing Garden of Eden or Ponderosa. Why? Because as much as I liked the light in Taj Mahal, Ponderosa Garden of Eden has 10 times that. Basically half of the dive is just underneath a open jungle ceiling. I don't even know how to describe it. There's clearly a crack that runs along. It's the first time that I realized, wow, we are scuba diving under the jungle, which is obviously all cenotes kind of do that. But this is the first one where I really realized that the roots of the trees above really crawled into the cavern through the water. Lots of that emerald green water going on, which was just really special. Now, the thing that keeps it from being my number 1 is actually that at least the way we dove it, and again, I'm not an expert, but we didn't do a circuit. I don't think there's the option to do a full loop or a circuit. It's kind of a go in, turn around, come back situation, which is fine. But part of why, for instance, Taj Mahal was nice was that you're doing a circuit, so you're actually exploring something new. You can't quite predict what's ahead of you, but if you go in and then the second half of your dive is the same way back, it sort of loses a little bit of that mystery. Now obviously that's just how it is, it's just the layout, but that for me keeps it from the number 1 spot. I must say also at Garden of Eden, absolutely great facilities, lots of space to set up, relatively easy entry and exit. Overall, super cool dive. I could do that dozens of times without getting bored. My number 1 cenote dive, actually before I reveal that, last week I published a book called Career in Scuba. If you want to be a scuba instructor or you want to be successful in the diving industry, it's full of tips and tricks on how to make that happen. And I'm posting a link below where you can obtain this copy. We hit number 1 new release on Amazon last week. That also caused it to actually be sold out for now, but on the link below you can still get it. Shameless advertising, but it's not selling out if it's your own product. Number one favorite cenote for me was Dreamgate. Now I need to make a little bit of a warning sign here that Dreamgate is definitely absolutely not a beginner situation. You definitely need to know what you're doing. You need to be a good diver with impeccable buoyancy. So absolutely don't yell at your dive guide if they're not willing to do this with you. It doesn't even say much about you per se if they decline that request, but it is just a really rather complicated dive, and one could argue that it also definitely it's definitely on the border between being a cavern dive and maybe a little bit more than that. But why is it on my number 1 spot is because it is so ornate. There are so many stalagmites, stalactites, just fields. It's crazy. I thought it was absolutely beautiful, and that combined with the entry, which is again one of the. I don't know if they had a pulley. I think they did, but stairs going down into what is initially looks like a sinkhole, gearing up in shallow water, then disappearing into the tunnel. it just is a really cool experience. It's also a circuit, right? So we go in on one side, come out the other side, so the whole dive is a little bit exciting, right? Around every corner there's something unexpected, which I really liked. At least that's how I remembered it, which is ultimately what makes it my favorite dive. I think I could do that one hundreds of times without getting bored. But like I said, it's maybe a little bit more of a convoluted dive. It definitely requires more of you, the diver. So I think if you go to Mexico and you find a dive guide and you say, take me straight to Dreamgate on my first dive, I would be surprised if they did that. I don't think they would. I don't think they should. But if you're spending a long time with a dive guide and exploring a lot of the options on the list, or other cenotes, because there's obviously hundreds, then I think Dreamgate could be a really cool finale to all of that, if you're up for the challenge. So guys, that's my top 5, but I'm actually very curious. I'm sure a lot of you who are watching have cenote diving experience, or maybe are experts. Maybe the impressions that I had were not exactly correct, or maybe there are some undiscovered gems. Then I would like to hear that in the comments. As I said before, guys, if you like scuba diving content, then you should absolutely subscribe to the channel and maybe even click the notification button. Also, if you give the video a thumbs up, that helps the channel in a major way, which enables me to produce more content like this. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.